I'm so just infuriated. You couldn't come up with something better. It's almost Nick Fury's Angels in a way. And it bothered me.
Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we will be discussing what happened to the movie The Marvels.
We've already done a spoiler-free review that you can watch here on this channel, but today we're going to talk about 10 things the Marvel team can do to make their movie worth watching. Be warned, we have lots of spoilers in this discussion. If you haven't seen the movie or you want to see the movie without any spoilers, go see the movie, then come back and watch this. As a bonus, we have 10, but if you stay to the end, you get an extra 2 bonus fixes. Rebecca, let's get started.
I felt like the opening was redundant. You see the 3 main characters. You see Kamala, you see Carol, you see Monica just immediately switch, and then it flips to 6 hours earlier. How did we get here? You don't need to show me the body-changing mechanism just yet. If you've seen the trailers, you know it's going to happen. If you haven't seen the trailers, it feels insulting as an audience.
And this sounds like out of the gate, just boom, the movie starts and here you are.
Exactly. I feel like Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantum Mania entry specifically, did this a lot better. Here you have Janet Van Dyne crashing into the microverse and meeting this mysterious person, who we find out later is Kang, but it's a great job to set up the baddie, and I think if we would have done something similar with this, it could have given a teaser and almost a aha surprise moment that the film desperately needed to keep attention.
Rebecca, let's talk about the tone of this movie.
I felt like the tone was way too jokey, and that's not something that I normally say about a Marvel Studios movie, but I know it's been voiced by a lot of critics. This was the first film I felt like it was a hindrance to the movie. There's one line where Monica is literally asking Nick Fury, how do I use my powers? And he's like, Black girl magic.
Uh-oh. Monica, you gotta fly.
No.
Black girl magic.
And I'm just like, why? Is this for the meme? Like, I'm so just infuriated. You couldn't come up with something better. And I feel it's weird because it almost extends to Dar-Benn, the villain of this piece, being shafted. The villain has a legitimate gripe against Carol. Carol destroyed her people's entire way of life. They have no natural resources because they lost the AI, aka the Supreme Intelligence, governing their people. So they are aimlessly wandering throughout the universe, trying to figure out their own sense of cosmic destiny, but also, how do they survive?
Which is serious, not so jokey.
Serious, not so jokey. Hey, this would be a great lead into that opening, showing this scene that explains why Dar-Benn has such a grievance against Carol. Instead, it's placed halfway through the movie, and you're just like, oh, that explains a lot now. Would have been useful 40 minutes earlier.
Versus 6 hours earlier.
So...
And it sounds like some of the jokes weren't even funny.
No.
They felt pretty insulting, it sounds like.
There was a couple jokes I did find funny, but it just... There's one bit of levity in this, and that's the musical Planet that I did enjoy. However, I felt like in a serious movie, that could have added some much needed comedy. And the weird part is they didn't even spend that much time there. It's supposed to be Carol's second home away from Earth and other than her spaceship that she's been living in for what looks like most of the Marvel franchise lifetime. I was really surprised to hear one of the songs basically chopped, so I couldn't even understand the dialogue, what was going on. There's the welcome song, which they gratuitously did, and then there's the song that basically says, how are you doing? And it could have created so much more communication about this culture and added a dimension to Carol that we don't normally see. Carol is traumatized beyond belief, something that is brought up in this movie. It's vaguely hinted at the end of the first Captain Marvel movie where she's learning to accept what happened to her. I think this could have shown great depth to Carol being more of a complete person instead of a cardboard cutout.
And I don't hear you saying the music Planet was a problem. It was just too short. It didn't, well, and I agree with you, the words were really hard to understand.
It could have been presented in a different way. And what I'm saying is, I think it could have added more oomph to the movie. Then it could have been actually funny. There's several attempts where they try to make comedy out of this situation.
Let's talk about Kamala's character.
I felt like Kamala's character really had grown over the course of Ms. Marvel, the show that was one of the lead-ins to this movie, especially compared to some of the other character depth that we get to see in this movie. Kamala is very much sidelined. There's a sequence where Carol, Monica, and Kamala are sharing memories in order to access this important bit of information, and I feel like you could have shown some of Kamala's character growth. Kamala comes across as really giggly and impossibly naive up until this point in the movie, and I think the best way to course correct this would have been to show some of that growth that we had seen in the show.
Let's talk about the supporting cast.
I felt like the supporting cast in this movie were either non-existent or they were the butt of a joke. I felt like Kamala's supporting cast especially suffered from this, considering that the parents just felt like caricatures, like, don't do this superhero thing. Oh, go do the superhero thing now that you have somebody in charge watching over you. It just felt ridiculous. And Kamala's parents have grown to know and accept their daughter more as she is. I felt like I didn't see that anywhere. It was like a light switch. It's like on, off, on, off. And it was frustrating because it feels like Kamala becomes more of a joke now.
Well, and it felt like her parents were just bring her back alive. Just look after her. That's a low bar. That's a low bar. And as you were saying, the show gave them a lot more depth and understanding. Even the brother. Did you want to talk about the brother a bit?
I felt like the brother just became like this afterthought. And I'm not expecting him to take up the show and steal the show. He had a few good lines.
Agreed.
But I just felt like he just became like this comedic relief for Nick Fury.
And how would you solve that?
I think I could add more serious moments between Kamala and her parents. I think that they really forged an emotional closeness with one another, and I'd like to see more of that instead of just whiny, complaining parents, because it plays into an unfortunate stereotype in some ways as well.
Everyone loves Nick Fury. I love Nick Fury. I hear you may not love Nick Fury in this movie.
Not in this movie. I felt like Nick Fury became woman wrangler. In the first 20 minutes, you see Nick desperately trying to sweep up these main characters' emotions, and it just felt like that's all he's here to do. It's almost Nick Fury's Angels in a way, and it bothered me because this franchise is built on female empowerment. Where's the empowerment of asking your boss, what the hell do I do with this situation? Where's the empowerment of being this cosmic superhero who saved the universe going, oh my God, it's terrible. I suddenly switched a body and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I get that it's scary and traumatizing and freaking, but just why are you playing into this?
And you had made a point that at one point Monica leads the Avengers.
Yes, I see Monica's character as a strong, engaging female character, especially in the comic books when she leads the Avengers. I saw that woman in WandaVision. I saw that woman in the last 20 minutes of this movie. Everywhere else, she was nowhere to be found.
How would you solve that?
I would give more depth. I would give more opportunities for characters like Kamala and Monica to step up to the plate and show their unique talents. At some points, it feels like all of the Marvels are the same. And if you have a team, you do have to have some differentiating going on besides, hey, this one can zap, this one can stretch, this one can make light constructs, kind of like Green Lantern, but we can't say he's Green Lantern because it doesn't have a ring.
The relationship with Carol and Monica, to me, was very disappointing. It felt spread out. It didn't feel like it adequately answered, why haven't you talked to your best friend's daughter in 20 years?
That was my other big quibble with it, was not only did it not feel satisfying, I did enjoy the conversational scenes. I thought those were well put together, but I felt like there was such a gap between the Carol in the first movie with her relationship with Maria Rambeau, Monica's mom.
Yes.
That was her best friend. And to suddenly just disappear off the face of the planet, only have one conversation with Maria, and leave out Monica, who's arguably one of the most important people in Carol's life, felt so uneven. Carol talks about wanting to keep Monica from the painful reality that is being a superhero. In fact, she says, I would not want to bring anyone into this life. Well, that's great, and that sounds noble and all, but you're leaving behind your found family, and I feel like it would have been more realistic for Carol to continue to interact with Monica and to hide the darker part of herself, not her complete self.
Let's talk fluffy kitties, aka flirkins.
What the flirkin was going on with that sequence? Sure, you have cats going. Part of the horror of flirkins is the cute, fluffy kitty outside with the monstrous Lovecraftian tentacles going. I'm gonna reach for your soul and drag you into a pocket dimension, but hey.
I was not afraid.
I was not afraid either, especially when you choose Barbra Streisand's iconic cover of Memories from the musical Cats. What else?
Yeah, the irony there.
Nia DaCosta has experience as a horror director. Her take on Candyman is considered quite iconic in the modern landscape. Horror movie directors know how to build characters before you whack them. Nia knows how to build tension, twist the knife so you're on pins and needles waiting for something to happen. This is the perfect moment for her to shine. Instead, I just felt like I was watching cat hoovers wander around a space station held by superheroes.
You'd make it a whole lot scarier, it sounds like.
I would go so intensely scary. I was already talking about the serious tone with this movie, and this would be a perfect spotlight for that, pun intended.
Ah, nice. Let's go deep on Darben, the baddie of this movie.
I've got a few points worth kvetching about. Darben is the last of the accusers. We recently saw, when I say recently, it's been a couple years, we saw Ronan the Accuser live up to the name. He's a vehement threat against the rest of the galaxy. He's intense, he's scary, and he presents a real challenge for the heroes to overcome. Instead, Darben doesn't feel like her own character. She just feels like Ronan in a more camo-colored costume.
She feels almost irritating.
Yeah, and I don't want an irritating villain.
Mainframe for the obedience discs have been deactivated and the slaves have armed themselves.
I don't like that word.
Which mainframe?
No. Why would I not like mainframe? No, the yes word.
Sorry, the prisoners with jobs have armed themselves.
Okay, that's better.
There's a time and a place for an irritating villain, and a superhero movie, to me, unless you're doing a comedic superhero film like Mystery Men, is not it. Heck, even Mystery Men presented a more compelling villain than this.
She just didn't feel bad. I know she was out to get you, and there was like a flashback scene. However, how would you even fix that?
I think the way to fix Darben, and likewise the problems with the universal weapon presented, is take the time in the beginning to set up Darben.
Wow.
You have an extended flashback sequence designed to create a story for the character. Put that in the beginning. Again, I keep saying this. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania intro. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania intro. You want to build the case for the bad guy to exist. And I feel like answering some of these questions goes a long way towards me not sitting in the theater going, hold on, wait a second, go back like 5 movies. I know I missed something.
And honestly, you should be pretty afraid of the baddie.
I was not afraid.
I was not afraid. I felt like here she comes and she's coming again. Not, And honestly, I always think, even if you don't like the baddie and you want something bad to happen to the baddie, to have some understanding, like you're saying, and some empathy because you understand what had happened.
Movie is only so good as their villain, as they say.
That is correct. Let's talk about the Supreme Intelligence.
I felt like more intelligent design could have been used for this moment. The Supreme Intelligence is the mind behind the Kree. You need to understand why this is such a huge loss for Dar-Benn. Sure, we have Carol's perspective from the first Captain Marvel, explaining that the Supreme Intelligence was basically mining her brain for intelligence on how she acquired her powers and how to use them. But that's only Carol's perspective. We barely get a glimpse into the other Star Force members, hinting at what they are supposed to do to further the goals of the Kree. Dar-Benn was dependent on the Supreme Intelligence. If you listen to her in this movie, Carol destroying that, a world of difference towards understanding where the baddie's coming from when you see how it affects them as well as their society, which is frequently brought up in this movie. My society is irreparably destroyed because you decided to free yourself and free everyone else.
How would you fix that?
I feel like should be more of a weight to Carol's actions. If you see how it's destroyed their society, you might start to see Dar-Benn's point of view. I know a lot of filmmakers consider it dangerous to have you empathize with the baddie, but I feel like if you don't have some degree of empathy, you're not going to understand why they're attacking the heroes. You're just going to be like, this is annoying. Go away, please.
I would agree with that. I agree with the danger, if you will, of the empathy. However, I agree it feels like an irritant if you don't understand. And to me, I don't know that it damages the movie to have empathy. You're going in to see the Marvels. You're rooting for them. Promised our Cinema Community 2 bonus fixes. Rebecca, tell us number 1.
Number 1 bonus fix. Kamala's bracelets. Last time I checked on the show, they're from a group known as the Clandestines in the Noor dimension. No potential tease of the Kree. In fact, the Clandestines are noticeably clandestine from this movie. They're not even mentioned.
No, I'm thinking back and I agree with that. It just seems like, move some dirt and guess what?
There you go.
Baddie has a bracelet. Oh. How would you fix that?
I'd add a little bit more dialogue bridging the two, or even just some of the visual sequences when Kamala's memories are being shared through the sequence when they're trying to find the star chart. The only hint we get at this is, where'd you get those bracelets? I got them from my grandma. It's just, that's the only hint at it.
And had I not saw the show, I would have went, oh, it's just a bracelet.
You can still keep the line, but give me some meat leading up to the line.
I would agree with that. And our closing bonus fix.
This one was the most obvious for you and me. I know there's definitely some audio issues when we were watching the movie. We were watching this in a Dolby Cinema theater. The entire theater is quiet. And yet there's still some lines that managed to be jumbled that were quite important. Check your quality control, people, please.
That sounds like an easy fix. However, if it's not fixed, it's a big problem. There were, as you said, lines we needed to hear. And when we kind of checked around, it wasn't just us. It was multiple people going, I didn't hear that. I didn't understand that.
When you have a chorus of whispers following a line, you go, did you hear that? I don't know what they said. Did you hear that? That's a bad sign.
That's a bad sign, but needs to be fixed. It's very frustrating.
I might have to go to the cinema again. Maybe I can catch something that might improve my opinion of this movie.
Agreed. Thanks for joining us. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Watch the notifications this weekend for our weekly show, Movies and More, where we will have more movie reviews, the latest Hollywood news, and commentary with snark, meant to amuse.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this content, you might click the link below to check out our spoiler-free review of The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Or click the other link to watch last week's show, where we reviewed Next Goal Wins.
Remember, cinema community movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.